Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Victoria Leong, and I am yes, the slides are up. I'm the Associate Dean of the Graduate College at Nanyang Technological University, or NTU. And it's my job to build education research partnerships to ensure that graduate students coming in have the best possible experience during their time on campus with us, so that you can experience not just the best of Singapore, but also the best of the world. And in today's presentation, I want to share with you a very unique opportunity that is available, perhaps for the first time, to the best candidates around the world. So this is the Nanyang President's Graduate Scholarship, which is our most prestigious graduate scholarship. As you will see later, the stipend and conditions are very generous. And we are uniquely opening this up to the global cohort anywhere in the world for you to be able to apply competitively for this scheme. So let me just start by giving you a brief introduction to the university. And I'm sure if you're here, you've already been thinking about it, but to kind of reinforce the reasons why we would like you to consider applying to NTU for your graduate studies. So perhaps the strongest reason is our academic excellence and our global reputation. I think both of those things, if you've already, done some research on NTU, you will realize that we are the world's best young university. We have been for a number of years. And so for a university which is, barely 34, 35 years old, we have risen very quickly through the ranks. Depending on which ranking scheme you prefer to use. QS puts us at 15 in the world. Times puts us at 30 in the world. Even taking the grand average, that's very healthy in the top 20 plus universities globally. And so I think for an Asian university, this is extremely rare to have such a strong ranking amidst all the giants in Europe and US. And so we've gotten there, partly, as you will see in later slides, because of our approach as a whole and our very global outlook. We're a fairly large university. We have about 35,000 plus students. We've educated a lot of students over the years, so over 300K alumni, and we work with a lot of partners around the world. Next slide, please. So here on the screen is just an example of a few of the areas that we really excel in. Now, of course, they're by no means exhaustive. And of course, we welcome applicants from graduate students across the board in STEM, non-STEM, and other fields as well. But just to give you a sense of where we excel, although we're a technological university, we excel in a number of different disciplines. So you will see that we are ranked first in areas such as nanoscience and nanotechnology, material science, physical chemistry, energy, etc. But we're also extremely strong, as you would expect, in the computational disciplines, in data science and AI, in manufacturing and engineering. But we have an extremely good reputation also in education. We house the nation's only institute for education. And as you might already know, Singapore has a world-class education system. And so we train the teachers who create that world-class education. And we're also extremely strong in communication and media studies, and even library and management of information, if you are so inclined. So it's not just technology, although our name suggests that we are strong in technology, we are strong across the board. Next slide, please. So why choose Singapore if you've not been to Singapore before? Well, first of all, it is a unique location in the heart of Asia where you can experience world-class standards of living, a highly developed country. Everybody speaks English, and so there will be no difficulties with you finding directions, ordering food, experiencing life in Singapore, because everybody will be able to communicate very effectively with you in English. But also uniquely, we are extremely safe. I don't recommend it, but you could even leave your mobile phone on a table and walk away for a few minutes and come back to it. I wouldn't recommend it. I have done so accidentally, and my phone was intact. And we do not fear walking in the streets late at night because the crime rates are extremely low. It's very easy to get around the different parts of the island, and so exploring, the nature reserves or taking walks, hikes, going to the coast is very easy to get from parts of the island from one to the other. Um, and the other thing is, we have a history of being deeply multicultural. So there are a number of kind of major ethnic groups, but we are primarily a multi-ethnic society. And so you will find that no matter what race or background you come from, you will be warmly welcomed and you'll be part of that fabric of culture, which makes Singapore so unique. So that's kind of the broad contextual factors. But of course, looking specifically at NTU, we provide a first-class learning environment, both the physical environment, you see an example here of our flipped learning classrooms, but also the educational environment. We take good care of our students with extremely diverse and very entertaining recreational activities, both in the students' clubs themselves, as well as those that are available outside of the university. The campus itself is beautiful. There have been awards won for certain buildings. And of course, our research facilities, I think, are second to none. We invest heavily in bringing into the campus the state of the art and in maintaining it and ensuring that they are always in good form. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that, doing your graduate degree at NTU is, a stepping stone to the world. And I think this is definitely true in terms of the breadth of experiences that we can offer in your research journey. So yes, you will be based in one or more research labs, but we have very strong partnerships with industry. And it's not just local industries, it is global industries. As you can see here, we've got some major, what we call corporate labs. So this is where big names, big companies like ExxonMobil or Delta, for example, have invested, significant sources of their income, their research income, into developing our new R&D in Singapore. So as a graduate student, you could be plugged in to these corporate labs, which then gives you that benefit of a dual exposure, both to the academic environment and also, if you're so inclined, to what that might look like if you transition into industry. And so you can imagine that we're very prolific on this front. We have generated many patents and, of course, the usual growth and very healthy number of citations and publications as well. So it's a very well-rounded set of opportunities that we provided into you. If you would like to do so, you will have the opportunity to engage on a number of different fronts with global partners. Next slide, please. So I'm not sure whether you've already had a chance to Google and search for your prospective supervisor, but I wanted to just highlight a few names for you who are really world-leading faculty, top ranked in their respective fields. And NTU has a good number of them. We are just highlighting one or two examples, but there are plenty in all the fields that I mentioned and more. For example, Xiao Dong, Prof. Chen, here, a distinguished university professor. His field is material science and engineering, one of our top ranked disciplines. And he's done some really interesting and pioneering work on flexible electronics, mechanomaterials, etc. And he's clearly one of our top cited scientists, most highly cited scientists, and has won a number of impressive awards, not just in Singapore, but internationally as well, in the German National Academy and the Royal Society. So our academics are really second to none, both, considering their field as well as the wider global competition. Can I have the next slide, please? Da Cheng, Prof. Tao, is appointed as Distinguished University Professor in the College of Computing and Data Science. He is really extraordinarily productive, having authored over 1,200 publications and an extremely high H index, if you care about things like that. And he is an expert in AI machine learning, computer vision, etc., and has really conducted transformative research in foundation models and generative AI. And he is recognized in a number of awards, technical awards, as well as fellowships in prestigious academies around the world. So, those are our key faculty. I don't know if they're personally available to supervise students. You have to ask them yourself. But they're very good examples of how NTU is leading the way and how you could be apprenticed really in some of the best labs in the world. Next slide, please. So apart from individual luminaries and corporate labs, the university also brings together groups of multidisciplinary researchers in what we call pan-university research institutes. So this is where the university decides that there is a key area of focus that they really want the university to champion. And so they will set up a research institute, which is cross-disciplinary, pulling together strengths across STEM, non-STEM, and sometimes even commercial or industry partnerships in order for us to make some game-changing discoveries and transformative breakthroughs. So you can see here the collaborations are not just local, but also globally. We have Sintra, which is collaboration with CNRS, which is developing innovative nanotechnologies and nanomaterials. CELSI is a globally recognized research center for excellence that is leveraging microbial biofilms and microbiomes to create really innovative and sustainable solutions. And on the right, you see just a handful of some of the other research institutes and centers that are at NTU, including our Earth Observatory of Singapore, NURI, which is developing solutions for water, Energy Research Institute, and I personally direct the Empower or Early Mental Potential Wellbeing Research Center. Next slide, please. And so it goes without saying that all of these are open to accepting graduate students. So you can apply to individual PIs, but you can also apply to a research center of excellence because they will have professors there who can supervise under the umbrella of the center as well as individually. So this is possible for you to do to explore being hosted by a research institute as well as by the regular kind of departments and colleges. And we also have an interdisciplinary graduate program where we deliberately bring together and we want to support a co-supervision on projects that cross disciplines. So under this IGP or interdisciplinary graduate program scheme, you will identify 2 supervisors, not just one. And the key criteria is that they have to be from different schools. So it could be, for example, a supervisor who does environmental science in the Asian School for the Environment, and someone from LKC Medicine who is studying, tropical diseases. And that would be under the IGP program. And so this allows your PhD journey to be formalized in a way that gives you exposure to more than one discipline in order to give you those complementary skills that are increasingly important in today's kind of very global and diversified environment. Next slide, please. Oh, that was the previous one. Okay, so also to mention that being part of NTU doesn't mean you have to stay at NTU the whole time physically. We have a number of schemes which allow you to spend some time overseas in a partner university. And this can take a number of different forms. You can apply for programs where you are awarded a joint degree. So this is specific cases where NTU has signed an agreement with another university, for example, Sorbonne, where you can go and have an overseas attachment, typically more than 12 months. And at the end of the entire experience, you come away with not 1, but 2 degrees. So 2 for the price of 1. So there are usually specific areas of focus for these programs. So if you're interested in this, you should contact us and we can give you more details, which universities and which programs would support this type of arrangement. But we have a healthy number of good quality universities who partner with us to offer joint degrees. We also have the possibility where you may not want to get degrees from two universities. You may just want the benefit of a supervisor from a different university, and that's the joint supervision scheme, which we also manage. So this has a lighter residency requirement of typically only about 6+ months. And although you don't get the degree being awarded by two universities, you get pretty much a very similar experience in terms of broadening your horizon. So that format is also possible for a different set of universities. Notwithstanding, if you don't want to have, formally two professors from different universities supervising you, you can still just do a short-term research attachment, typically 3 to 6 months in duration. And these are supported in a number of ways. Either your PI could have a research grant or your school could support you. But this is fairly well received and fairly a common experience for our PhD students to be able to do this at some point in their candidature. And of course, there's some coursework exchange possibilities as well. Next slide. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. I mentioned the joint PhD degree and supervision possibilities. This is just to give you an idea of the types of partners with whom we have these agreements with. You can see that we have a lot of partners in France. In fact, some of our most active programs are in the Paris area, but we also have opportunities elsewhere in Europe. We are partnering with universities in the Netherlands, in Sweden, in Germany, and also a lower number of programs in the UK and in the USA. If you wanted to use this as a chance to get your foot in the door for China, that's also possible. We have some programs that allow you to visit, for example, Shanghai Jiaotong or Hong Kong. And so all of these are possibilities that you can discuss with your supervisor if appropriate. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's come back down now to the dollars and cents. So what I said before was generally applicable to anybody being interested in coming to NTU for a PhD. But the reason that you've logged on today maybe is because you're interested in the specific funding scheme, which we advertised. So as I mentioned at the start, the NPGS is our most prestigious scholarship. So we are looking for the best students and using this to launch your career. So the eligibility criteria are quite generous. So we do not restrict nationality. We do allow you to be from any country. But academic excellence is the main criteria. So you should have the equivalent of or a first-class honors degree. So the best that you could have obtained from your bachelor's typically. Or if you are in a system where you have a GPA, then typically we'd be looking at something like a CGPA of 4.5 out of 5. We do allow advanced applications. So if you've not yet secured your degree certificate, this can be done via, a certificate from your university instead to say that you've completed the requirements. So the application window is now open for the January 2026 intake. So we do have intakes of PhD students twice a year. There's a larger intake in the August period, but we also have one in January. And so we're accepting applications for the January intake now. So if you'd like to consider joining us in January, then the portal for applying to the NPGS is now open. And it will stay open until the 31st of July. So just 2 months. We're about 2+ weeks into the window. So good time for you to think about whether you want to submit your application for this prestigious scholarship program. Now, of course, there are more details on our website, and you can, of course, quiz us about this later. But is that the end of the slide presentation, Justin, or is that one more? Oh, sorry, I should have said a little bit more about what you'll actually get. Okay, so this is a fairly involved matrix, but I'm sure you're all very bright students here, so you can work your way around that. So we do have tiered stipend classes. And what you see here is the monthly stipend broken down as a function of which discipline that you are registering for. Now, if you're not sure, you can ask us whether your discipline is STEM or non-STEM. But broadly speaking, there's a distinction between the two classes of disciplines. And as a function of which discipline you're enrolled into, your stipend could be as high as Singapore dollars 6,300 a month, which is really quite substantial. In US dollars, that's nearly 4,900 US dollars a month, or 4,300 euros a month. Now, of course, it's a little bit less for other disciplines, but it's still very substantial with respect to what you'll need to live comfortably in Singapore. So that's not it, just it. And on top of your monthly stipend, you will also benefit from an annual or per FY, per financial year, conference allowance of up to 4,000 Singapore dollars. You get a book allowance for those of you who still buy books, an IT allowance, and a thesis allowance. So all of those are in addition to your regular stipend. And of course, it goes without saying that your tuition fees are already covered. So all that money is going straight into your pocket to support your daily living needs. And just in case you do need some help with graduate housing, we do have subsidized but quite competitive graduate housing on NTU campus. This is applied for, so it's not guaranteed. But we are usually fairly successful in getting graduate housing for first-time international students. And of course, as you are aware, Singapore is, very highly developed, very safe, has very good health care. So all of this will be in the wider ecosystem that you join. Next slide. Okay, so a few tips. If you get to the point where your application has been shortlisted and you're invited to meet us, that's a very good sign. It means that you have met the bar and we are interested in seeing whether you have the X factor to really stand out and to make very good use of this unique opportunity. So what are we looking for when you do your interview? Well, we want to see that you can think long term. And that you have a clear idea about what you are trying to achieve, not just with your PhD project per se, but really thinking about how you can set yourself up to be a research leader in your field. And we're talking about not just grand plans, we want to see your thought process. Have you thought through, what skills you will exactly need, what challenges you might overcome, and how you might do that? And how you might get from where you are here today to the point that you want to be, let's say 5 or 10 years into the future. And we also want to see that, you have skills and talent that extend beyond the research lab. Now, the research lab is a really important place, but we want to, nurture the next generation of leaders. So we would also love to see how you've applied yourself in other endeavors, such as in community service or in wider leadership, to let us see you in a more holistic way and the person that you are becoming. During the interview itself, we want to hear how you articulate and present yourself and share your passion with us so that we really understand your perspective and we can get on board with you, and to show us, the ways that you might be distinct or unique compared to other applicants. So those are just some quick tips. But of course, if you have further questions on getting to that stage, we are very happy to answer that in the next few minutes. So I think, Justin, probably that is most of what I want to present. Is there anything else? Yeah. Okay, so let's open the floor now for some questions. It's quite an intimate group today. So I think you can feel free to just unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question. If you are a bit too shy, you can, of course, type it in the chat box, and we will, read that out and answer it. But I very much encourage you, since we're a small group today, just to ask your question directly. Any questions? Doesn't have to be about just the fellowship or the studentship scheme. It can be about NTU in general, can be about living and working in Singapore, Can be about jobs, can be about, food.
If no one else wants, maybe I can go first.
Please go ahead.
So, thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Daniel. I just had a quick question. Are like the TOEFLs and the GRE, the GMAT, are those scores like are they necessary or are they like an optional thing? Because I don't have those.
Okay. I think I'm going to direct this question to our kind of lead administrator, Wan because I think she has the latest on what is essential and what is not.
So GRE is optional now, but we still require IELTS and TOEFL scores if your bachelor's is not done in English. Otherwise, all these are optional as well.
So I did both my bachelor. I did my bachelor's at ETH Zurich, where the bachelor's officially in German, but whatever. But I'm doing my master's right now at ETH, and that's English. Does that mean I still need it, or is that fine? Because I guess you can hear me speak. I assume.
I think the minimum requirement is that we need your tertiary studies to be at least 3 years in English, taught in English.
I
So
see.
we still need the English scores for your case.
Well, that's awkward, but thank you.
All right.
So thank you, Daniel, for that question.
My name is
Yes.
Agnes.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Agnes.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes. I've got a question. So, in terms of the round of applications and the round that's opening now is the January admissions, is there multiple round in terms of application in a year?
Yes. So there are two major intakes every year. The larger intake is to start in August. Most students tend to prefer that. It's more synchronized with other events going on in the campus. But we have a second intake in January every year. So there are these two deadlines that you can target, the January intake or the August intake.
So, what would be the application window for the August intake?
Why do we have that here?
Yeah, so it will be 1st October until 15 November. That's for COHAS, and it will be 31st January for all other disciplines.
Yes. So
sorry.
Oh,
yes, sorry. Yeah.
Did you catch the answer? Because the deadline's a bit different depending on whether you're applying to a humanities and social sciences subject discipline or not. So which discipline would you be applying to?
So it'd be more biological or environmental science side of things. So STEM,
okay.
Yeah.
STEM, yeah. So that would be 31st January in that case.
Okay. Are we expected to contact our supervisor first before the application?
So this varies a little bit by school. I think in general, it's a good idea. Some schools are quite good that they will allow you to go in even without a pre-agreed supervisor. They will help with the matchmaking process. But for your own sake, I would suggest that you try and reach out to potential supervisors yourself. Because you do want to get a sense of, who they are as people, whether they'll be interested in taking someone like you, because it's quite a serious commitment to make to do a graduate degree. So you do want to get a sense of fit early on. Now, I'm not sure it's specifically for your fields that you've mentioned, whether it's a prerequisite. Perhaps one I can chime in on this one. But my recommendation would be to try as far as possible to have made contact with the supervisor beforehand.
Thank you very much.
Just maybe a follow-up question, if that's all right.
Sure.
Because I'm not sure. So is there's the TOEFL and the IELTS, is this for independent of the President's Scholarship, or in a sense, is it also if I apply normally?
This is a basic requirement for entry to the university. So all our applicants have to demonstrate sufficient English language skills to undertake a graduate degree. Now, the NPGS scholarship, of course, will only be awarded if you're admitted to the university.
Right.
So, of course, it is the case that this is necessary for the scholarship as well.
Now, the issue is because, well, I mean, I guess I would like to. So my plan was to apply for this upcoming applications schedule, and I already talked with one of the professors, and it seemed to be, safe. But I guess it's not as safe as I thought. So the thing is, in Germany, I did my Abitur, and now that already avoids me with a C1 English. Shouldn't that be is it like really the insistence of a, because I'm sure you can see my point, right? I mean, I studied at ETH for, well, now I guess it will finish up being my third year, and then my high school was also bilingual, and I have a C1, and then it's a bit awkward if I fail on the schedule cycle just because I'm missing a paper or something. Yeah.
So, Warner, do we have flexibility at the school level to waive this at their discretion?
Yeah, I think it would be at the school's discretion to see whether the students would meet the necessary requirements for admission.
Yeah, so Daniel, this is something that if you've got a supervisor already identified, I think they can help you to inquire at the school level whether an exception can be made in your case. Now, for us, because I'm in the social sciences, I know that on some occasion I have argued this successfully, but it is on a case-by-case basis. So what we're sharing here is a general guidance, just to be super safe. This is what we recommend across the board. But of course, we recognize that there are individual circumstances as well. Now, Warner, can we also make a conditional offer that, so that we don't hold up the applications? I hear Daniel's concern here that, the time is getting short. So can we do this as a conditional offer? That is, the offer conditional on passing his IELTS or TOEFL subsequently?
You can put in the request to the school, so the committee will still, select the best candidates out of the applicants to be shortlisted for interview. So if you have the IELTS scores and English scores, definitely you stand a chance to be shortlisted.
Okay. Yeah. So Daniel, I think this is something where if you don't anticipate being able to complete this in time and you still want to go ahead with the application, then I would suggest you get in touch with your supervisor to see what exceptions, if any, may be made in your case.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other more fun or lighthearted questions? I don't have all of you visited Singapore before. Would you like some guidance on the, attractions or what graduate students normally do, where they live? Nope, everybody's happy, super crystal clear. Okay. So great, we've got a question via chat. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read this out for everybody's benefit. So we have someone who says that he's decided not to enter the academic world or industry. As far as, is a PhD degree only applicable to the academic world, or can it be used in industry? That's a very good question. Does NTU have industrial company partners after completing a PhD education? I think this is an extremely relevant question in today's climate. I think you're all aware of the fact that, not everyone who gets a PhD will be able to secure a tenure track position. Unfortunately, there is an oversupply of PhDs relative to university posts. So I think industry careers are, very important to consider even from the start. And this is something that at NTU we are, facilitating at an earlier stage by, helping you to think about industrial attachments, for example. And as I mentioned, allowing you to even do your PhD in a corporate lab, which means that you're already starting to be part of the industrial world right from day one of your PhD. And this is because we recognize the need to diversify your options as soon as possible. So I would say that in answer to that question, do we have partners after completing? Actually, the corp labs are partners during your PhD already. And in fact, the best PhD graduates do go on to join, let's say the partners who funded their PhD, as scientists, AI data scientists, for example. So I think that's a very natural progression and route. But I think in many cases, if you're just asking generally about industry, now I'm saying this without knowing exactly what industry you're interested in, usually it's not necessary to have a PhD to be successful in industry. People are generally successful with a bachelor's or master's, especially in the tech side of things, right? It's quite rare to do a PhD in IT, for example, because it's the hands-on skills that usually are more desirable and things move so quickly. So I would say the answer depends in part on which exact industry you are interested in transitioning into. But generally, I think NTU on the whole does prepare its students well for that transition. And we give you opportunities, let's say right from the start, or to do an attachment midway through your PhD for you to start thinking about that as well. So good question, Agnes. So yes, we are looking into giving a more formal structure to this. It's already been possible to do internships with industry in the same way that it's possible for you to do research attachments overseas. But historically, this has been something that you and your supervisor have to figure out yourself. So you kind of need to use your own research networks, knock on a few doors and say, can I do an attachment with you? What we're trying to do more systematically is to create programs where we identify good partners that we know will give you a good experience, like some of these big brand names that you saw, and to facilitate that process a little bit more in a more structured way. So short answer is yes, for sure. But what we're improving as we go along is the choices that we give you so that you don't have to, kind of do this yourself. Although it's entirely possible. So if you had your mindset on a particular industry, which only happens to be in some fishing area in Denmark, then by all means, you can discuss this with your supervisor. But we will try and do, of course, at the graduate college is to have more centralized opportunities that we can offer across the board to our students. Now, I should also say that, these things have to be negotiated with your supervisor because we do need you to finish your PhD in time. So it's a 4-year program. And you are expected to be able to hand in your dissertation in good time. So if it's a research attachment that's very closely linked to your PhD, then it's easier because then chances are you still be able to fold in some writing or some research even while you're overseas. If it's going to be an industrial attachment, then I think you need to think well about whether that will actually detract from your dissertation writing, and you can afford the time because you're very well organized, or whether this is something that you want to consider postdoctorally. So I should always remind you that your PhD is a journey that's shepherded with your supervisor. So don't make unilateral decisions there. This is something that your supervisor will be able to guide and advise you on whether this is appropriate for you and at what stage is the right point for you to do such an attachment. Any other questions? I can see we're closing in on 2 o'clock.
Oh yeah, hello. Is this clear?
Hi.
Is it clear? Okay. I have some follow-up question. Is there any possibility to have a working visa in Singapore while we're taking the PhD degree? Okay.
This is a loaded question. Now, if you are registered as a student with us at NTU, we fully expect that you will be doing your studies full-time. Having said that, I do know some students who are studying part-time and working as well. Now, these are unique arrangements that I will not offer as general options. I would say that the standard path is for our students to be studying full-time. We do not expect you to have to supplement your income by working. In fact, that would probably be problematic in many cases. So that model is different. I know in some countries, for example, in the US, a great many students do work as graduate teaching assistants, etc., to supplement their income during the study period. This is not something that we generally encourage as a whole.
Okay, got it, miss. Thank you so much.
Is there an astrophysics department? Now, I don't think it's called the astrophysics department, but we do have very good theoretical physicists who may work on interplanetary or space phenomena. Now, I don't know their names off the top of my head, but probably you are best off looking in our College of Science and having a look at maybe SPMS or physics departments to have a look at who might specialize in those areas. Maybe Warner can help us to quickly Google.
Is EOS considered?
Well, they don't do so much physics, but they do earth sciences. That's true. So yeah, you may find them spread across the university in different disciplines. As I mentioned, we collaborate a lot across the centers and the disciplines. So you may find them located in a bit of a more non-traditional school. So Earth Observatory, for example, is kind of looking at climate global phenomena, but there are a good many people there who have physics backgrounds. Okay. So this is a good question. How flexible are we on the eligibility criteria? I would say that we don't have a lot of flexibility there. But if a very strong case can be made, especially if you have other outstanding qualities, for example, if you have journal publications, or any other prizes, for example, then I would still very much encourage you to try. And this could certainly still be considered. But I will not make a promise because the criteria are there for a reason. We are selecting very carefully for only the best applicants for this prestigious scheme. Okay, it sounds like you guys are starting to warm a little bit, so I will stay open for another few minutes in case there are a few more questions. Anything else you'd like to know? Going once? Going twice? Okay, if there are no further questions, and thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I don't know what time it is for everybody here on the call. I can see there are some Asian names. You may be part of my team as well, logging in from Singapore. So Wana and Justin, for them, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. So many, many thanks to them for their dedication. Thank you to all of you for joining us for this briefing today. I hope you enjoyed finding out about NTU and our graduate programs. Please feel free to Google, find out more about these schemes, drop a message to potential supervisors, and one is just put the GC events email in. You have more general questions on the graduate college, do also reach out to us. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your morning, noon, evening, midnight, wherever you are. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.